afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Metropolitan Stadium.
Call it in the air, please.
Heads.
Heads, he called.
Hey, listen now. 4 quarters, 60 minutes, and we're the champions.
For many, the 1979 NFL season began with great expectations that were born last year. In St. Louis, Cardinal fans were positive their strong 1978 finish was no fluke, a point their team repeatedly drove home in their opener against Dallas. The Cardinal defense was vicious, while their offense was effective. Frequently play-action passes kept the Doomsday defense on their heels and opened the passing for quarterback Jim Hart. But while 2 touchdown passes kept the Cardinals close, it was the running of rookie running back O.J. Anderson that enabled St. Louis to take a fourth-quarter lead. Anderson rushed for 193 yards, only 1 yard short of Alan Amici's 1955 NFL record for yards by a rookie in his opening game. And it came against a defense that is not known for its generosity to runners. But the Dallas offense was equally exciting, and it retaliated with big plays like this halfback pass from Ron Springs to Tony Hill. But for most of the afternoon, Tom Landry's Cowboys were not sharp. Their 1-point lead, however, seemed insurmountable as Cardinal place kicker Mike Wood attempted a 60-yard field goal on the last play of the game. Dallas survived the close call to win their 15th straight season-opening contest, an NFL record. But while the Cowboys escaped with a narrow win, their NFC Eastern Division rivals, the Redskins, were captured by defeat. Washington was hoping to upset the Houston Oilers on opening day at RFK Stadium, and a pair of touchdown passes from Joe Theismann to number 84 Gene Fugit nearly did the trick. Washington led 17-6 at the half, but then watched as their dreams of an upset were cruelly crushed by the blitzes and Superman efforts of Oiler defenders like linebacker Robert Brazil, number 52. The Oiler defense held Washington to a field goal in the fourth quarter, while Earl Campbell and company banged out 16 final period points in a 29-27 Houston victory. While Campbell was picking up where he left off last season by rushing for 166 yards, the Philadelphia Eagle defense was doing the same in their opener against the Giants. The tough defense that lifted Philadelphia to a playoff spot a year ago registered 7 sacks and collected 2 key interceptions. A 23-point second-quarter Eagle explosion was triggered by quarterback Ron Jaworski, who twice found 6'7" Harold Carmichael for scores. But trailing 23-3, New York struggled back in the second half as the highly publicized offense of new head coach Ray Perkins began to take wing. Quarterback Joe Pisarcik's passes finally began to find their mark, and 2 touchdowns, one a controversial catch by Johnny Perkins, brought New York to within 6 points of Philadelphia in the fourth quarter. But with less than a minute remaining, New York saw their final comeback hopes canceled for good by the Eagle defense. Rookie free safety Bernard Wilson came up with a timely interception that sealed a 23-17 Philadelphia victory. The return of a game-saving defense was an encouraging sign for Philadelphia, because if this team hopes to return to the playoffs, the Eagle defense will have to, as defensive end Claude Humphrey says, keep on rushing and crushing. The NFC Central Division may be pro football's weakest, but it represents a strong and proud tradition. At Chicago's Soldier Field, the Bears and Green Bay Packers renewed a rivalry seemingly untouched by time. The modern monsters of the Midway, like their predecessors, place an emphasis on the more hard-hitting aspects of the game. In this, the 120th meeting in a series that began in 1921, contemporary developments took a back seat to good old-fashioned, hard-nosed football. The Bears came out on top for the 61st time, and their victory suggested that the ultimate division champions might be those who maintain time-honored tradition. In Tampa Bay, however, a crew of young Buccaneers indicated that tradition can be turned upside down. The Central Division's newest members are more in step with the times. Rookie Jerry Eckwood, number 43, was especially in step. His 121 yards rushing in the game set a club record and helped the young Bucs upset the Detroit Lions. Unfortunately for the Lions, they did not reap the same benefits from their own youth movement. Highly touted rookie Keith Dorney, number 70, was shoved into his own ball carrier, causing a fumble that allowed Tampa Bay's Leroy Selman, number 63, to score his first professional touchdown. Quarterback Doug Williams is another example of Tampa Bay's youthful skill. He's even reached the point where he can remain seated while throwing a touchdown pass. Williams is able to accomplish the job in a more traditional manner as well. While he hit only 4 of 16 attempts, those 4 were all he needed to engineer a convincing 31-16 victory. Tampa Bay's win demonstrated that in 1979 Central Division race, youth will have to be served. The passing of the old guard was noticeable at Minnesota's Metropolitan Stadium, where the Vikings hosted the San Francisco 49ers. Encouraged by forecasts that last rites would be pronounced over the aging champions in 1979, San Francisco's Steve DeBerg completed 29 passes for 262 yards. But in the second half, the Vikings made it plain that such pronouncements were most premature. Tommy Kramer and veteran Ahmad Rashad, number 28, teamed up for 4 second-half touchdowns. Kramer, who had not completed a touchdown pass during the preseason, suddenly found himself very much at ease in filling the Fran Tarkenton legacy. And for his part in the heroics, Rashad equaled a club record. Yet while new blood was being pumped into the Vikings, the 49ers still held a 1-point lead with less than 2 minutes remaining. But the Kramer-Rashad duo proved once and for all that Minnesota was alive and well. Although Sammy White recovered the apparent fumble, the referees ruled that Rashad had crossed the goal line before losing possession of the ball. The controversial touchdown gave the Vikings a come-from-behind victory. Thus, another tradition was kept alive, namely that the Vikings are still the team to beat in the NFC Central. The last time the Buffalo Bills beat the Miami Dolphins, Richard Nixon was president, and gasoline was 38 cents a gallon. Buffalo had lost 18 in a row to the Dolphins going into last Sunday's game. But it appeared that the streak might end when the Bills blocked a first-half field goal attempt. Number 26, Charles Romes, turned the block into a 7-0 Buffalo lead. But that was to be Buffalo's only bright spot for the day. Their attack was held to a paltry 121 net yards as the Dolphin defense shut them out the rest of the way. Miami was able to continue their mastery over the Bills because of the return of a prodigal son. Number 39, Larry Zonka, back with the Dolphins after a 5-year sabbatical, gained the key yards and scored the winning touchdown as Miami beat the Bills for the 19th time in a row. Another team that went through a recurring nightmare last week was the Baltimore Colts, who showed their last place form of 1978 when they met the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts, who disappointed last season, hope to start off the new year on a winning note. But the Chiefs' potent running game, paced by number 22, Ted McKnight, would have none of that. McKnight scored both Kansas City touchdowns in a 14-0 win over Baltimore. But what really has the folks buzzing in Missouri is the Chiefs' aggressive young defense, a unit whose oldest starter has 3 years' experience. Here, number 99, top draft pick Mike Bell, sheds his blocker to make the sack, one of 4 the Chiefs logged against the Colts last Sunday. Another stick-out is cornerback Gary Green, number 24, whose interception halted a Baltimore drive. If you include the preseason games, the Chiefs have not allowed a score of any kind for 11 consecutive quarters. If they keep this type of play up, the AFC West could become a 5-team race. The same formula of minimum point production and maximum defense has been a staple for the Denver Broncos, the AFC West defending champion. Against Cincinnati, they mustered just enough offense to win their season opener. Denver was stingy last year, and they showed no signs of changing their ways. Against the Bengals, Orange Crush was in mid-season form. A goal line stand late in the game preserved the Broncos' 10-0 shutout win. It was their second opening day shutout in the last 3 years, and it probably means more scoring problems for Denver opponents in '79. But while most expect Denver to be in the thick of the race, many have called for a decline in the fortunes of the Oakland Raiders. Retirements, internal squabbles, and a new coach, Tom Flores, have prompted many to write off the Raiders. And in last week's game against the Rams, Oakland fell behind early 14-0 when Los Angeles quarterback Pat Hayden hit wide receiver Willie Miller, number 82. But like Mark Twain's death, reports of Oakland's demise appear to be greatly exaggerated. And it didn't take long for the Raiders to bounce back. A blocked punt by the special teams set up one of 3 touchdown passes quarterback Ken Stabler threw last week, all to his tight ends, Derek Ramsey and Raymond Chester, number 88. Oakland's 24-17 victory over a very good Los Angeles Rams team may force some of the experts to reconsider their predictions. One team they all seemed to like in the preseason polls was the Seattle Seahawks. And after a successful summer, their fans felt they had good reason to be optimistic about 1979. Through the first quarter of their opener against division rival San Diego, Seattle looked very strong, especially on defense, an area of weakness last year. But it was all San Diego after that as the Chargers translated 6 Seattle turnovers into a one-sided 33-16 shellacking. Despite the loss of 3 important starters to injuries, the Chargers looked extremely healthy against the Seahawks. After a 14-year absence from the playoffs, San Diego fans have good reason to believe this is their year. But based on the first week's action, the AFC West will be one very tough division to conquer. Nothing warms the hearts of NFL fans more than the thrill of sudden death overtime. There were 3 such nail-biters in the season's opening week. One in New York, where the Jets and Browns put the ball in the air 67 times. The passing parade was sparked by superb performances by the receiving corps of both teams. Old pro Reggie Rucker, number 33, showed the value of great concentration, never taking his eyes off the ball while being tackled. But the biggest catch of the game came on Brian Sipes' wing and a prayer that 6'5" Dave Logan, number 85, pulled in at the right sideline. It helped bring the Browns back from behind. Despite the aerial fireworks, this was a game decided in the trenches, particularly by one man, number 77, Lyle Alzado, who beat a steady tattoo on the Jets' powerful Chris Ward, number 72. Alzado sacked Matt Robinson 3 times. On one brilliant play, he refused to be fooled by a phalanx of blockers pulling right and undressed Robinson's naked reverse for a big loss. Alzado's rambunctious play was infectious, spreading to other members of the Cleveland defensive line as they poured through on Matt Robinson all day. This has been a Cleveland weakness in the past and precipitated the trade that brought Alzado east from Denver. It appears what once was a major liability is now a source of strength for the Browns. The play that turned the game came in overtime when Robinson, a regular for the first time since high school, put the ball up short, right into the eager hands of number 21, Cleveland cornerback Oliver Davis. Two plays later, with only 15 seconds left on the overtime clock, dependable Don Cockcroft kicked a 27-yard field goal, and the Browns had prevailed 25-22. For Cockcroft and the Browns, the scene was deja vu, for the 12-year veteran kicked the winner in Cleveland's sudden death victory over these same Jets in the Browns' home finale in 1978. It appears to come naturally for the unflappable Cockcroft, who, along with Lou Groza, is one of only 2 place kickers the Browns have had in their entire 35-year history. For the young Jets, it was a bitterly disappointing start to a new season. Last year, New Orleans missed its first winning season ever by the margin of 2 games, both last-second losses to Atlanta. But with an explosive attack featuring number 89 Wes Chandler and Chuck Muncie, number 42, the Saints have reason to feel this may finally be their year. In a revenge match in the Superdome, Muncie streaked for 158 yards, best day ever for a Saints runner. But good as the 230-pound Muncie was today, the Falcons had a back who was even better. Number 31, 5th-round draft choice William Andrews ran for 167 yards in his professional debut. The threat of a ground game opened things up through the air, and Steve Bartkowski took full advantage with a 22-for-36 outburst that gained over 300 yards. But as so often happens in a tight game, special teams spelled the difference. This poor center snap and rookie kicker Russell Erxleben's panic pass in front of his own end zone cost New Orleans the game in overtime. The 40-34 Atlanta win served to show that the Falcons haven't run out of miracles. They may be the NFL's version of Destiny's Darlings for the second straight year.